Hello, everyone. This is Out of Order. My name is Anthony Buono.
My name is Ben Mayer.
And on this episode, we are going to be discussing the chaos and violence that is erupting currently in India's general election.
Sounds like a headline that Trump would truth.
I know.
Yeah.
What's crazy?
Chaos and violence.
I think it's crazy how much chaos and violence is actually going on.
How much this is not an exaggeration.
How much this is not an exaggeration. We are not experts on Indian politics by any means, but we do try to inform ourselves with the general political workings of countries outside of ours. And I saw this story and I think it's really, really interesting. India is the largest democracy in the world, and they're going to be a real power player in this century, and especially the next. And so understanding their political issues and turmoils that they're going through, it's going to be important to understand as this country becomes more and more prominent on the geopolitical stage for an American, European, or anyone in the world to understand.
Yeah.
So I want to highlight this really important story that's going on now. So during the 2024 Indian general election, Manipur, during the general election in Manipur, there has been ethnic violence between two separate communities, the Meitei community and the Kuki-Zo communities. The violence and the chaos has been so bad that the Indian government is actually redoing voting at severing polling locations because of how bad the violence was. So why is this? What is this ethnic conflict that's going on between these two groups? I want to give some background there. So Manipur is in the northeastern region of India. It is right on the border with Myanmar. And we can remember that Myanmar experienced a military coup a little while ago. There was an influx of migrants and refugees that caused a lot of instability in the region. But the instability goes back even further than that. These communities, the Meiteis and the Kukis, have had long-standing problems in living alongside each other. The Meiteis are Hindi, and the Kukis are an old Christian community in this region. Okay? So the main crux of this ethnic conflict dates back to about a year ago now. Okay? This has been the next catalyst where the ethnic groups are competing for tribal status. And I'm going to get into what tribal status means, but they're competing for the Indian government to classify them as having tribal status. So it's important to... so in April 2023... the Manipur High Court recommended scheduled tribe status for the Meitei community. Now, what does scheduled tribe status mean? It's referencing the scheduled castes or scheduled tribes. Now, what this goes back to British policy when the British were occupying the British Raj. It goes back to giving more autonomous control and greater rights to the lower castes in Indian society.
Okay.
And so it's designating a specific group of people as the most disadvantaged, the most socioeconomically impacted in India. And when you're given this reservation status, this tribal status, it guarantees you political representation. It gives you preferences in regional promotions. It gives you quotas in universities, free and stipends for education, specific scholarships, and it gives you preferential banking services.
Okay.
So getting tribal status is supposed to be a thing where the Indian government is trying to help the lower castes, the people who are suffering the most in their society. But in this case, it's getting abused, and this is kind of something that happens across India where communities that aren't really the most economically disadvantaged are trying to get this tribal status.
Yeah. It's almost like serving special interest groups.
Yes, it's almost like this. It's becoming a patronage system now. So the protests erupted at this decision, and the All-Tribal Student Union in Manipur conducted peaceful protest marches on the 3rd of May, 2023. The peacefulness of these protests did not last very long, and eventually it led to violent clashes. Houses were getting burned down. The two communities attacked each other violently across the border of their communities, and 77 Kukis ended up dead, and 10 Meiteis ended up dead within just 1 week. So by May 14th, the government's tally of casualties and property damage from the violence stood at 73 dead after that week, that initial week of the 87 dead.
Wow.
73 dead, 243 injured, 1,809 houses burned down, and 46,000 people had to be evacuated from the region because the ethnic violence was so bad. And this violence is militarized. They're militant. They're armed. They have weapons. It's organized.
It's like
There's
a mini
gangs.
civil war. Yeah.
It's a mini civil war within the region of the country. The Modi, who is the current president of India,
Prime Minister,
president,
Prime Minister,
whatever it is. He's the leader of India, and he's also the leader of the BJP party. The BJP party, it's important to note, is very explicitly Hindu nationalist. They do not have any good feelings towards Muslim minority communities or minority communities generally. Modi has explicitly said that the Muslim communities in India are explicitly a problem. So there was a lot of ethnic tension going on at the top of India's government too.
And it's an effective strategy for Modi because 80% of India is Hindu. So if he can just keep that constituency in his pocket, he doesn't have to worry. He can vilify the other religious minorities.
And so the Congress Party, which had been in power in India for a long time and is like the center-left, center coalition party, has suffered a lot against the BJP. And the BJP has been very successful over the last decade, taking a lot of power away from the Congress Party. But in regards to all this violence between the Kukis and the Meiteis, Modi remaining pretty much silent on the issue. But it was only was forced to acknowledge the problem when a video clip went viral of a woman being brutally sexually assaulted. And so this video went public, went viral. Modi had to say something. In August 2023, the Kukis People Alliance withdrew its support for the BJP. So this is the Kukis fighting back against the BJP, saying that they no longer view them as legitimate or worthy of their support. And the BJP also went on to kill a resolution at the federal government level, which was condemning Modi's inaction. That was expected, right? The BJP wasn't going to condemn itself.
Yeah.
Obviously it wasn't going to happen, but it was something that the Congress Party was trying to do. So now the general election for these regional representatives took place April 19th, last Friday, and they did not go smoothly. Meitei mobs stormed polling stations, broke electronic voting machines. At some stations, members of armed gangs were seen threatening voters to turn away. Members of opposition political groups. So I want to do one more thing here before I move on. These polling places that got ransacked, they are going to do revotes this week. They're going to do revotes this week, but the opposition political group who are representing the Kuki interest are saying that the violence wasn't just confined to the 11 polling places that are redoing their votes. They're calling for new voting in 25 polling stations in the 12 areas of Manipur that have all seen political violence, because currently only 11 out of the 45 are being classified as seen violence, you need to redo it. Not all the polling places are getting to redo their vote. So one leader of the National Congress in Manipur said, violence happened in places where the majority of voters are unhappy with both local and the Modi government generally. This is where armed mobs are intimidating and threatening people who want to vote out the BJP. So people who are looking to vote out the BJP are the ones who are getting intimidated, violence put upon them, and not being able to exercise their right to vote, which should be guaranteed to everyone in India.
Yes.
And so this is just a crazy story. It's an example for all of us Americans who really don't know how good we have it.
Yeah, I am really glad that they're redoing the elections, right? Because with the BJP having such power as it does, and Modi has been polling so well before this election, like he is in no risk. He is at no risk of losing his seat.
None.
So the fact that he is still saying, that we do want to redo these elections because we know that they weren't free and fair, I think it's a good sign for what you're saying is the largest democracy in the world.
Yes, it's definitely a good development.
Yeah.
On top of that, Modi is pivoting now because India is becoming it's becoming a developing country. It's not. I said becoming developing.
Yeah.
I didn't say becoming developed.
Yeah.
All right. They're becoming a developing country now.
Yeah. They're getting richer.
Right. And so like, what are they? They had record tax revenues this past year. Electricity and running water is spread to almost every area of India.
Yeah, their GDP grew 8%.
It's growing very fast.
Yeah.
And so Modi has made explicitly clear he wants to use a lot of this new tax revenue to form a national health system, which is a really great development. That's amazing.
Yes.
And I hope he's able to do that. But he needs to do it in a way where he's not winning elections based off ethnic tension and stoking ethnic hatred like this.
I mean, well, I guess doesn't need to do it in a way. We would like him to not do it in that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, I mean, India has hundreds of millions of people who aren't Hindu. Right. So by representing your country as a Hindu nationalist party, you are putting all of those people's quality of life and safety at risk.
Yes. Thank you for watching this episode of Out of Order.
Crazy that you made it to the end.
If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe on YouTube and check us out on Patreon.
Yep, link is in the description of our YouTube channel, and we're super poor, so we could use any support you can give.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.